Hello, everybody. This is Gamer Chatbox. We're starting our first stream today. Today, I got a guest here. Well, we're all in this together, but El Chapo Zero is along with me. We're going to talk about some NBA subjects today. How you doing today, El Chapo?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, excited for the first little podcast. Got some interesting topics that we're gonna go over, and there's gonna be a lot of information we're gonna go through.
All right, that's good to hear, man. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start on NBA topics today. We got a few. We're going to talk about the team trade with the Celtics, Grizzly, and Wizards. Kind of give a take of how we feel about it, what we think the team is going to be. Are they championship contenders? Are they playoff contenders? Or just playing or out of the playoffs? Next, after that, we'll be talking about the Spurs draft day, how we think about Wemby being the number one pick, and we're going to project their season as well and see if what kind of accolades Wemby's going to have. He's going to be Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. We're just going to talk about his projection for this season. Also, we're going to talk about Bruce Brown, Draymond Green, and Chris Middleton. They declined their player option, and we're just going to see kind of what their future plans are for them. Also, I know I didn't get this updated, but we just got word that the Chris Paul trade from the Wizards to the Warriors. We have that. We're going to discuss that. Um, Also, after that subject, we're going to talk about the Bradley Beal and the Suns and how well will they fit and mesh and what kind of season would they have. Also, we're going to talk about the Kyrie, if he's made his mind up on where he's going to end up today. Um, Also, Damian Lillard, I know he's been doing a lot of tweeting about players and kind of what's going on in the NBA. We just want to see where he might end up in his future time. Is he going to stay in Portland or is he going to go to a different team? Um, Also, we're also going to talk about will the Nuggets repeat? Since they won the championship this year, we're just going to see if they're going to keep their team impact. If not, what kind of additions would they make in order to stay a championship contender? So, Elgin, we're going to go ahead and start with the first topic, the team trade involving the Celtics, Grizzlies, and Wizards. And I just want to ask you, who you think won the trade and what team you think lost the trade?
Okay, so for me, it's kind of hard to say who won the trade because I don't really think any of the teams kind of won the trade. I guess you could say the Wizards, since they're getting back some young players, some draft picks. Um, I would think in the long run they may have won the trade, but in the short term, I believe the Celtics won the trade the most. Uh, they got off Marcus Smart, who they have been trying to get off of for the past couple years because his defense, while has been really good for most of his career, it has kind of fallen off and tapered off over the past couple. And he's great for the locker room, and that's going to be a big piece that they're missing. But they have Derek White, who at this point in time is younger, a better defender, and in my opinion, is also a better shooter. So they're replacing Marcus really with Derek, but they're bringing in Kristaps. Now, the reason why I think Kristaps is a really good, I wouldn't say a really great fit, but a good pickup for style change is that Joe Mazzulla is kind of moving away from the defense, is moving more towards the offensive system and offensive identity for that team. So Kristaps had a career year last year after 23 points and 9 rebounds a game. It was shooting very well from the three. So that adds spacing and adds more shooting and scores so that the teams can't collapse on both Tatum and Jalen Brown. Now, for the Grizzlies, don't think it was a good idea at all. Tyus Jones is one of the best backup point guards in the NBA. I mean, he's had one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the NBA over the past couple years, and he fills a void that you're going to be missing when Ja serves a suspension. And so I was just not really understanding the thought process behind the Grizzlies' decision on that. I mean, yeah, Marcus is going to be great for your locker room. Is going to give them a veteran presence that they really need to kind of get the team's mindset together. But stylistically, I I personally don't get it. What do you think?
Yeah, so what I think is just looking off paper, I feel like the Celtics did win the trade along with Kristaps Porzingis. They also got draft picks as well with that trade. So this would, I feel like, would help Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown kind of have that third option, like a legit third option. I feel like they kind of looked to Brogdon in a way, and I feel like Brogdon didn't really get his opportunity or shots in to be the third option off the bench.
Well, he has injury
But
concerns too. You got to think about that.
that's true. That's true. And but Derek White did come into that role of being the third option. To me, it feels like when in the playoffs, of course, he got some runs, but then there's sometimes he didn't really get off as much as he should, or they was looking for him to have. But having Kristaps be there, this will help them in a way to where they can have a reliable third scorer. Of course, he was the number one scorer in the Wizards, averaging 23 points, I want to say, per
Yeah,
game. So having him in that locker room and being paired with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, it would relax some of the offense to where they don't have to do the load because as you can see, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are turnover prone players just because they are tasked to do more for the scoring load. But having Kristoff being there would help offset some of that pressure off both of those players. Also, I feel like it would help defensively. He is a 7'3" power forward, which he's not the best defender, but it gives him that length on the court to kind of bother some shots here and
him and
there.
Robert Williams together is going to be great for at least trying to block shots. I agree with that.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like for the meantime, just looking off paper, I feel like the Celtics did win this trade because of that versatility of Kristoff Porzingis, and just having them being having more of an option for that team.
I
Um,
just think the Grizzlies just made a bad decision
I
altogether.
I think so too because they gave away draft picks and they gave up Tyrus Jones, which is I
For
do
Marcus Smart,
yeah for Marcus Smart, man. And I was thinking the same thing you were, is that Tyrus Jones is one of the best backup point guards. His turnover to assist ratio was one of the best this season, and giving away that type of player is, and what Marcus Smart, he makes bonehead plays every now and then. He works hard on defense, but that could lead him to making bad decisions as well. His shot selection isn't that good. And if you look at Marcus Smart's career, he's only a 9.5, 9 points, 5 assists, um, average
type of guy.
career player. So getting that into your locker room, which I mean, his defensive presence is great, but like I said, his defensive plays and how hard he works can make him make bad decisions also. So it just felt like you got rid of a player that makes good decisions, and you brought in a player that makes bad decisions. So this is going to cause some games and some crucial games to where you're fighting for a good playoff seed. Also, with the John Morant suspension for 25 games, that's going to cause them some games they should have won. It's kind of like the Lakers and how Westbrook was making bad decisions and they lost games they should have won. I feel like this is going to be the same exact way. Marcus Smart might lose some games for the Grizzlies that they should have won, but Tyrus would have pulled it together and make the team win.
I
Um,
think I think you're right. I think in late clutch situations, while Marcus was fearless, uh, he kind of wasn't looking to get the two best players a shot. I think Tyus, at least for the Wizards, will get a lot of people open shots. You may see Kuzma have a better year. Some of the new guys they brought in, some of the younger guys they have. I think you'll see that Tyus will not only grow as a starter, but he'll also help these other players grow. I don't think the Wizards are going to be that good next year, but I could see potential of like some young key players getting better this next season.
Right. Yes. And then my next thing on the Wizards, of course, we're going to talk about the Chris Paul trade, but now they have Jordan Poole, and they have received some draft picks along with the compensation of what they got rid of. I feel like the Wizards will be a experiment down the road of who's going to be the leading scorer, who's going to be the person to get the locker room together, who's the leader. I feel like they will have a kind of a weird season, but I feel like they will have a lot of ups and they'll have a lot of downs. Of course, they're not playoff team to me, but I just feel like they will try to mesh these new pieces they have and see who's going to take the reign of this team. Now, how do you feel about, I guess, the Celtics and where they're going to be at in the Eastern Conference, the Grizzlies in the Western Conference, and the Wizards also? What do you think their record might be, or how who's going to make the play in, who's going to make the playoffs, who's going to be out?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking about with these teams who are involved in the trade is who in the locker room for the Wizards is gonna punch Jordan Poole this time. That's the first question. That's gonna really. But for me, out west, I think the Grizzlies are probably the fifth best team in the West, honestly, because
Really?
you have, yeah, oh, absolutely. You have the Nuggets number one, obviously. Like, there's no question about that. I feel like the second team, you could go between the Lakers or the Suns, whichever you prefer. Um, After the Lakers and the Suns, I'd probably go with Clippers or Warriors for the three and well for the 4 and 5 spot. Actually, I would honestly put the
Hey,
Kings. I
yeah,
put the Kings above them as well.
I was just about to
I
say,
put the Kings as a top four, top five team. So let's say just in any order, I'd just say based on potential. I'd say the Nuggets one, Lakers two, Suns three, uh, Kings four, Clippers five. If they, I mean, it's not gonna happen, but if they're healthy, Clippers are, I think, a better team than the Grizzlies, and I'd say Grizzlies are probably six.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
to me, with the Clippers, just because of Tyrone Lue, he makes a big difference in that team to where you might count him out, but he will surprise you. So I always will have them in that top five range in the conference.
oh, absolutely.
Now,
Uh, Wizards, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or the play-in. I think they're going to be on the outside looking in. But I mean, that's you could tell with the trades they made, that's not their goal right now. Their goal is to kind of free up cap space, get some draft picks, try to get a big name sometime soon, either through the draft or maybe during the offseason next year. They'll have the money to try to get someone to pair with Jordan Poole. I can't believe they're throwing all their eggs into the basket of Jordan Poole,
yeah,
but
I feel
who
like
knows?
he's
Maybe a change of scenery will do well.
yeah, because you got to think about it. They lost Bradley Beal and Porzingis from that team. Now you lost your top two scorers, and you're bringing in Jordan Poole, which is, I believe, he's not even the best scorer between Bradley Beal or Porzingis.
Right.
So it's really going to be hard for them to fill in. Okay, who's going to be the next guy to be alongside Jordan Poole? I just don't see that with the Wizards. That's why I say it's going to be a weird season between them, and having them kind of mesh who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the main focal point of that offense, and just how their identities match together. It's going to be a very weird season for the Wizards.
I agree 100%.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go over to the next topic. We're going to go over the Spurs draft day and predict their season along with Wemby's accolades in his first season. So, El Chapo, what do you feel like the Spurs, how they rank in their draft, and also what do you predict their season along with Wemby's accolades?
So, I mean, obviously, Wimby's an obvious pick. He's a can't miss. You know what I mean? So, I think the Spurs immensely got better, and you can even see potentially with Chet Holmgren his impact during the summer league. Granted, he didn't play a regular NBA game, but you can see the potential, and Wimby is just immensely better. So I would think that the Spurs are going to have a potential to be a play-in team, and I don't think they're gonna. I don't think Wimby's gonna shoot them up to a top 10 team. I mean, a top 8 team, for the simple fact that one, his body, his frame is a concern, and when you're that big and you're going against players like Jokic, you're going against Joel Embiid's, Giannis's, Brook Lopez's, big bodies, DeAndre Ayton's, big bodies that'll bang against you, that'll wear you down throughout an NBA season. So I don't think he's gonna play every game. I'd say he'd play around the 60s, maybe 70s. Um, for the first year, but I think his impact offensively may not start on the best track. I think it'll eventually get better. I think he'll have some struggles offensively. I mean, he can shoot the three, but for his last season, um, he shot 29% from three. So
Hmm.
listen, I don't think it's going to get better in the NBA, especially with the talent. But I think his versatility offensively, he'll figure it out. But defensively, I think he's going to have an immediate impact. I think defensively, he's probably going to start off as one of the best defenders in the league.
Okay,
Honestly,
I do
uh-huh.
agree on that. Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you put his stat line? All five of his stats. What do you kind of give him a ballpark average?
If I'm just doing a shot in the dark, I'm gonna say he'll average about 20, 21 points a game, 11 to 12 rebounds a game, and I'll say 2.5 blocks a game.
Okay. All right.
I feel
Um,
like I feel like that'll be I feel like that'll be a good little ballpark of what he can immediately do.
right. Okay. Yeah. My stats is kind of along with yours. I guess from the beginning, I think the Spurs, of course, got an A+ on their draft just because this is a potential player that can't be missed. The hype was all around. You'd be a dummy to not draft this kid number one. Um, so of course I give them an A+. Predictions of their season, I do align with yours. I do believe they can make the play in. They'd be right there at 10. If not 10, they'd be right there at 11. So they're gonna be very close into that play in. Something in me saying they're not done with their um, uh, building up the team around him since they have drafted him. I feel like now they're going to try to work and get things around him to make the team an all around better team. But I do feel like they can make that play in tournament just because of his impact. Um, and of course, the accolades, I feel like Wemby can be a defensive player, um, all team, first team, or second team. Now, it could be depending what position he plays. If he plays the center, I feel like he could be that number one spot for the centers. Power forward, depending on Jaren Jackson Jr., if he has another breakout year in blocks, I feel like Wemby could be either first or second team All Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, he's going to win Rookie of the Year in my prediction. Um, and for his stat line, I would say he would average 23 points, 9 rebounds or 8 rebounds, just because he's going to be out in the wing. So he's going to be doing more of a, you know, kind of like a Kevin Durant situation to where he might disguise himself out on the wing. Probably
I feel
whoever.
like it'd be more so AD because
You think
just
so?
because he's not the shooter that Kevin Durant is, but he has a decent shot. He has a very good shot. I feel like he'd play more of an Anthony Davis style of play more so than Kevin Durant offensively, where you do a little inside outside, working the posts and the mid range areas.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that point. But I feel like maybe they would try to get him more touches outside to where he can take smaller bigs to shoot over him, or also if it's a bigger big to match his size, he can take him off the dribble just because of his agility at
Right,
that size. Um,
right.
right. So I would say about 8 to 9 rebounds a game. But of course, 23 and 9 is not bad at all to win Rookie of the Year. Uh,
Absolutely not. That's an all-star stat line.
exactly right. So I don't think he will average that double double. I think he'll be short of it.
You
Um,
think so?
the blocks, I think he will average between 2 to 3 blocks, 2.5 blocks a game, just because of his size and what he can do with that length. Which of course will put him maybe first or second league in blocks. And I think he'll have a big impact, just like you said, on the defensive end because just of his size and length.
Right.
And also your concerns about him being frail. I would say with that size he has, being 7'5" or 7'3", 7'4", people throw out these numbers, but I say 7'4". He, for his frame, I feel like, and what he does on the court fits perfectly because he doesn't want to be too big and move like that because he'll start having foot problems, knee problems, and all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of remind me like of a Kareem build to where he's skinny framed to where he could kind of prolong his career. So maybe him not being as big will hurt his chances of playing 65 games, which is I got him playing about 65 games just to qualify for these accolades of rookie of the year and defensive player, first team or second team. Just, he will play just a minimum, I feel like, which is about 65 games. And
I
I
think so,
know,
Joe. I think they're going to err on the side of caution when it comes to his health because the bigger you are, the more prominent foot problems are. So I think they're gonna be, especially with it being his first season in NBA, trying to get used to the rigor of the schedule. I think they're going to be very cautious with how they play him, how much they play him, and if he has any inkling of an injury, they're sitting him down. They're not risking that.
exactly, right. And I just feel like if they do decide to give him extra weight, which is I think it'll be a bad idea, it's just because I see how Anthony Davis, I know he's been injury prone all his career, but I feel like the bigger he got, definitely with the Lakers, the more he was on the ground, grimacing on all of the injuries, like his foot, ankle, whatever it is. I just feel like the more weight you pack on, the more issues. And also you see with Joel and Embiid, he can never have a complete season just because of how big he is. You see
Well, I mean,
with
that's like 300 pounds. I'm not saying that we should get 300 pounds,
oh
but I
no,
say if you get around like LeBron's weight, you get about 270. I think that's a good what 270, 280. I think that's a good weight for someone that's 7'5".
yeah, but I feel like with him, I feel like that would cause more problems. I say if he gets between the 235 to 240, 245 range, maybe 250, I feel like that would be a perfect frame for him to have a prolonged career. Maybe not like the most dominant. If he was 270, he would be dominant. Like he would be backing people to the rim, dunking on top of their heads. But I feel like that's probably not the best for his career because I feel like he will start having those nagging injuries carrying that weight.
I think he's going to have him regardless, just because of his height. I feel the opposite. I feel like he'd be more injury prone being lighter, just because you don't have as much cushion. Like if you're banging against someone, or you land wrong, you don't have that strength to kind of keep your body, resilient. But that's just what I think.
Right. Yeah. And I just see that with Anthony Davis when he packed on, because remember, before the season started, he's like, well, I gained this weight, so much weight. Now I'm back in shape and, I'm be playing more of five, so I'll gain more weight. And I just feel like him gaining that weight, the more he should be inside the paint, not outside the paint. Because him outside the paint, he doesn't transition as well in the conditioning area, which makes him more prone to get hurt. And I feel like with Wemby's skill set, he needs to be agile. He needs to be kind of light on his feet because of his skill set. So gaining more weight to me is not the best for him. I feel like if in his playing career, now if he's 7'5", is like get your ass on the block. Hey, gain as much weight as you can, because he's not going to be doing anything extra. But just because of his frame, it's like a Porzingis. Just because his frame, he's able to do much more outside the paint.
Right.
So
I see your point there.
right, and also he can dribble the ball pretty good for his size.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
so yeah, he needs to
He's a
put that
freak of
ball on the
nature.
floor.
This
Right,
man's a freak of nature.
right. I agree. So I just feel like that's probably the concern I have with him is that if he does gain more weight, just don't put too much on it. Don't like is he I think he weighed in 220 in the draft.
30.
Yeah, 230. Okay, so if he
Yeah.
gained 50 pounds, I'm like, oh shit, something's going. He doesn't need to gain that much weight. I just feel like he needs to be around the 250, like 240, 250 ballpark, and he should be good. But I want a straight muscle like a Giannis. I don't want to
Right.
be like
Maybe.
Joel Embiid or Jokic weight. You need to be
Well,
stout.
I guess no, they've been that size their whole lives. So I guess that just doesn't bother them that much. All right. So let's go on to the Chris Middleton, Bruce Brown, and Draymond declining their player options. What do you think is going to happen with Chris first?
Okay. So what I believe, and also I'm gonna speak on all the all three players, Bruce Brown,
Okay.
Chris Middleton, and Draymond. I feel like they're declining their play option just to reconstruct a new contract to fit in more pieces. I feel like Chris Middleton isn't going anywhere. I feel like he's happy in Milwaukee, and of course, because he got Giannis, and I know he thinking in his mind that he has another opportunity to make it to the finals to win another championship. I don't feel like he's going anywhere. Just reconstructing a contract to where maybe they can add more pieces, probably work him a longer contract. Oh, well, we just got disconnected. L just not online, but I'm just gonna go ahead and continue. So I just feel like Chris Middleton will reconstruct his contract just to fit more pieces. Um, I know you got disconnected there, but I just kept it going.
Yeah. You
Um,
want? Let me see. You were still doing the YouTube thing. You want to pull that back up for me?
right, yeah, yeah. But also, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep talking. But
You got it.
with the Bruce Brown, he just won a championship.
Right.
Uh, so I don't feel like he's going anywhere. Just make sure he's reconstructing his contract to where maybe they can add more pieces, or possibly give him more money, just to kind of have it open to where he can do a lot more with the team. Because of course, coming off a championship season, you don't want to just up and leave. Definitely, if other teams isn't offering that much more money, and that's the only
Right.
thing that's probably scary is having that um, the other teams giving him more money to prove his worth. So
Right.
I just felt like he will stay, but just reconstructing a contract to where maybe they can add more pieces to stay title contenders. Um, with Draymond Green, of course, this I heard about this before the Chris Paul trade. I feel like Draymond did take the decline player option because, of course, he's been at Golden State for all his life. He does not want to leave. So I feel like he will stay. And plus, with the new contract, they're going to work with Chris Paul. They're going to redo his contract to where he can stay. It might not be as much as he earned previously, but it would be something that where he's still happy to stay with the team. And I feel like other teams would not offer him much more money for him to take over Golden State's offer. So,
Right.
yep. What about you? What do you think about the three players in this player option?
So Chris Middleton, I'm gonna have to agree. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he just wants to restructure his contract, get a little bit more money, getting a little healthier now. So I think he's just gonna reconstructure. He has Drew Holiday, Giannis. I think, which I think they will. Bringing Brook Lopez back. I think that team is gonna always be poised to compete for a championship. So I don't think Chris is gonna go anywhere. Bruce Brown, I think he may be looking for more money, and I think that he could leave Denver if the money isn't there because I feel like he believes that he proved himself during these playoffs and during the later half of the season once he got there. I
Mm-hmm.
think that he could be looking for a good contract. Now, Denver is going to shell out some money. You got Michael Porter Jr., you got Jokic, and you got Jamal Murray. Those are your three big players, and you still got Aaron Gordon as well. I think they could probably come up with something for Bruce Brown to stay. I don't think he's going to leave. I don't think he wants to leave, but I don't. I'm not gonna just pretend like it couldn't be a possibility.
Right.
When it comes to Draymond, I think with them getting rid of Jordan Poole means it's more likely that he's going to stay. I think Jordan Poole's contract was his biggest issue with his contract. Now, with him gone, I think you can talk Draymond into taking 25 million a year. So I
Right.
don't think Draymond's leaving, especially with Poole being gone. They need Draymond for that offense. It's going to be kind of weird to see how it's going to work with Chris Paul. We'll talk about that later, but I don't see Draymond leaving either. The only place I could see him possibly going would be maybe someone like Miami. Um, Miami would probably be the only other team I think that would pay the money to bring him in just because of all of his intangibles and what he adds for a team.
And they need a
But
legit point guard over there too.
yeah,
Somebody who can initiate the offense.
yeah, and Draymond may not be a point guard, but he's definitely an offense initiator. And so I don't think he's going anywhere. Miami would be my best bet if he left, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
Okay. And I just thought about a random question during this topic. The You was talking about Bruce Brown and maybe the Nuggets not retaining his contract. Do you see a way, or do you think that the Nuggets need to improve on a rotation or maybe a player or two to where they can maybe keep themselves title contenders? I guess that's probably our last topic, but like, do you think that right now? I guess you just give me like a small snippet of what you think. You think what they have now will be constructed for a title?
I say
Uh,
I say stay pat. I mean, you obviously were the best team in NBA. You didn't really struggle that much throughout your playoff run, and your third guy didn't live up to standards, and you could just work on him getting better with Michael Porter Jr. So yeah, quickly, I don't think they need to change anything. I think they need to bring everybody back and run it back.
okay. All right. Good topic. So now we're gonna roll over to the next one, the Chris Paul, where he will end up next year. I know we talked about him being on the Wizards, but we had word now that he's actually going to be joining um the Wizard. I mean, sorry, the Warriors. So I just want to get your take on how would he fit with the Warriors? Do you think that he is a good fit for this team? Do you think that the Warriors are still moving pieces to where maybe Chris Paul is not staying on this team this season? What are your words on those two?
Um, I don't get it. I don't get why you, you get Chris Paul. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still a very good player, and he can definitely contribute to a winning team. But for the Warriors' style of offense and the way they play, I don't see how that fits. Their biggest concerns last year was size. Why did you piece that Jordan Poole trade to get Porzingis or another big man try to pry DeAndre Ayton away from the Suns? Your biggest concerns were size, and you got worse on it. You got a smaller point guard, and when you think about how he fits into the offense, yeah, he's great at pick and roll, and he could definitely run a second team. But are you gonna have him off the bench? I mean, I don't see how he doesn't start, and I don't see how you start him. If you get what I'm saying, he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
fit their motion offense, and he but he's too good to not start. And you literally have to change your entire offense in the second unit when he's in there. Granted, which can be done off the second unit, but Chris Paul's coming off the bench. He's never come off the bench his entire NBA career. Like he literally has zero off the bench games. He started since day one. So you're just going to tell him all of a sudden, hey, you're going to run a entirely new offense and you're coming off the bench. So I don't see how that helps them. They didn't address their biggest concerns, and they had an opportunity to. So, I mean, you could have just done straight up trade with the Wizards if they wanted Jordan Poole, and you bring in Porzingis. So, yeah, I don't think it was a. I'm not going to say it's a bad move, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Yes, and I'm agree with you on that aspect. I just feel like Chris Paul isn't made for that offense. You know, the Warriors are more of a running gun. Let's get an open three on our fast breaks. Chris Paul is more of a backcourt player. He more of a get the offense initiated. Let's run this sets. But then also Steph Curry and Klay Thompson do a lot of running. They run around, try to get open looks. I don't see Chris Paul being that type of player.
He
Definitely
ain't
at his
running.
age.
That man is not going to be running
Yeah,
for 48 minutes a game. He's not doing
right.
it.
He's a pick and roll player. He gets you a little short burst here and there, but he's mainly just jogging through the motion of the offense. Now, the Warriors is just ball movement. Like we're just gonna take off running, and we're gonna keep running, keep running, keep running until we are open. Chris Paul is not that type of player, which is odd to me. They would have a player like this, unless, which is like you said, would be weird to have him come off the bench and maintain the offense while Curry and Klay Thompson have a break. And also, if you want this to work, Chris Paul is not going to play heavy minutes.
No,
He's
oh God, no. You're going to have to keep
he's
him under 30.
yes, definitely. I would say 25 to 20, 20 to 25 minutes a game in order for this to work. And if Chris Paul is okay playing that many minutes coming off the bench, like you said, he never came off the bench at any point of his NBA career. And also, like you said, in his whole lifetime, he only had one game on record to where he had to come off the bench, and that was during the Wake Forest where I think he hit somebody in the groin and he couldn't start for the half.
I
It's the
remember
only,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that's the only time he actually came off the bench. So this, I agree, does not make sense to me unless they're not done.
Well,
Now they
they
could,
can't trade him again. He's been traded twice.
what can you buy him out, release him?
I'm sure you could buy him up, but at that point, then what was the point of the trade?
That's true because they did get
You're
great
gonna have
draft picks, right?
yeah, you're gonna have to keep him. You have no choice but to see how this works. I mean, if he becomes a detriment to the team, yeah, buy him out. You know, before the All Star break, I don't think he'll be a detriment to the team, but I just don't think it's a fit, man.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And also just saying, also how many games and like the Warriors, they are always a good title contender because they make shots. Uh, Chris Paul, will he be there at the end of the day when it comes to playing in the playoffs? Since he is injury prone and an older player, he can't sustain that. Definitely the offense they run, they can't run and gun and Chris Paul being that offense and then thinking they got to do it in the playoffs, it's not going to last. Now, how do you feel about
His
Chris Paul health and going forward in the playoffs if he does play with the Warriors?
I think his health with the Warriors would be much better than any other team he's been with because they won't need him to run as much, meaning they don't need him on the court as much. All these other teams that he's been on, he was the runner of the offense. He was the focal point of getting the offense started. So I don't think that they're going to need as much from him when it comes to running the offense. So I think he'll have more opportunities to get breaks, to get rest. He's not going to play every game. I think his playing time management would be the best it's been in his entire career with the Warriors. So I think he'll have his best opportunity to last through the playoffs with this team.
Okay, and just a random question. Also, I like to add a little,
A little spice to it. Add a
yeah, a
little
little spice
spice
to
to
it.
it.
Yes. So, who do you think that Chris Paul would have been a better fit for?
Boston, hands down.
Boston.
I think Boston was the perfect fit for him.
I would say L.A. I feel like the Lakers, L.A.
L,
Lakers, would probably have
L,
been a good fit for him.
LA's number two. I think Boston would have been the best if you're talking about a contender and being able to set up the offense. LA as well to get LeBron off the ball more,
And
and
yeah,
have him, focus more as a scorer, rather than a facilitator. But I mean, yeah, Boston and LA would have been the best too. I think LA right behind Boston, but both of those would have been great fits for him.
yeah, and I just feel like too, AD is best when he has a point guard to get him initiated. Because I just felt like seeing Rondo being a part of the Lakers, he gave AD great looks,
Oh
which
yes,
they did win the title that year. So AD was at his best when he has a capable point guard
a
to
true
give him
point guard.
a true point guard to give him great looks. And I
Right.
feel like the Lakers would definitely benefit from LeBron scoring and don't have to be the facilitator on the team, and also AD getting him good open looks. So I just feel like the Lakers have lost out on Chris Paul because Chris Paul will take their two best players to a whole nother level.
And it would have saved LeBron, if you think about it, having Chris Paul kind of impacts LeBron as well because now instead of working his ass out, working the offense and trying to score, you just have him focus on scoring. He's preserving energy,
Mm-hmm.
so because I mean he played pretty good defense last year. He wasn't as bad as he usually is with the Lakers on defense last year because he was off the ball more and was able to spin. I mean, look at him during the playoffs. He was defending at a very high level during the playoffs. And that's because they had people like Austin Reeves and Dennis Schroeder and D'Angelo Russell, running that offense. And so I feel I agree with you. I think LA would have benefited greatly from having Chris Paul on that team, but I don't think they could have afforded him through a trade. I think they needed him to be bought out, and obviously that didn't happen.
Right.
Boston
All
could have
right.
traded for him, so I think that was a missed opportunity by Boston.
Right. Definitely Smart's gone. That'd have been a good piece for
Right.
them. I do agree with that. All right. So next subject, we're gonna go around to the Bradley Beal trade. So do you think the Suns won the trade, or do you think that Bradley Beal fits well with this team? What are your thoughts on that?
So I do believe they got better. Obviously, Bradley Bill's an all-star. I mean, he's a perennial all-star type of player. I mean, I think you get better but I don't think you get good enough to win the championship. I think one, you give up more depth, which is your issue last year. Your issue last year was that you didn't have enough depth to sustain leads or cut down leads while you have Devin Booker, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant on the bench. So you didn't fix that problem. Um, Bradley Beal has been injury prone these past couple years, and now you have two players who are very injury prone with him and KD, and you have Devin Booker who can, get into a little injury bug here and there. So think I don't think he's enough to get over the hump. And then you got to think about the offense. How are you going to run the offense? You don't have a true point guard to run the offense. Devin Booker can do it. He showed it during the playoffs that he could run the point guard. But are you going to have him do that for the course of an entire season rather than just a couple playoff series? Like I don't see. I see the logic behind it if you have three high power offensive guys who could get their own bucket. But as you see in the playoffs, that ain't going to work unless you have depth to help them out. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the trade.
Okay, I see. Yeah, so I guess my point about this is yes, like you said, I feel like that didn't fix their issue. Their issue was depth. And you get this big player, like big market player, and you get rid of more depth, it's not going to fix your issue.
Not,
Also, on top of that issue, I know a lot of people say, well, Devin Booker could run point, but Devin Booker is not at his best running point. He's at his best being a true shooting guard to where he doesn't have to initiate the offense.
right.
Um, and KD also. KD is not a point guard. He could get assists because he's looking to pass, but he's not an initiator. And people get that wrong. Just because you got a big high number of assists over 6 assists, you thinking, oh, well, he could be a point guard. Well, no, that's not true because some of
No.
those point guards get hockey assists, and that's people don't see that. And I think it's going to be very hard for the Suns to win some of their games just because they don't have the true point guard or they don't have depth in their team.
One
Um,
thing though, you can't double team nobody.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can't double team nobody because they will get open. And also, a lot of point that nobody is making, and I actually thought about this. Ayton, he is not going to be at his best without a true point guard. I feel like his easy buckets come from Chris Paul's play.
Oh yeah,
Now, yeah, so I feel like people already have problems with DeAndre Ayton right now.
with his motor.
Yeah, with his motor, but I'm thinking you're really gonna see it this season because Chris Paul kind of masquerade the whole, his stat line pretty much. He got his points easily because of Chris Paul's screen, pick and rolls and kind of give him easy
Court
looks.
vision and
Right.
things of that nature. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like DeAndre Ayton would definitely be the blame this season. I feel like because he's not in the better position like he was with the Suns last year, and I
Right.
just feel like that's going to be a big point. And you can watch the whole season this coming up season, and you just let me know, and we will revisit how he looks. I just feel like he's not going to have the biggest impact just because he doesn't have a true point guard. I do feel like the Suns have a new GM, and he's trying to make these big
He's doing
blockbuster
too much.
moves.
He's doing too
Yeah,
much.
exactly right. And
He's
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 putting
doing what the Nets did back when they brought in
Paul
Kevin Garnett
Pierce.
and Paul Pierce.
Yep,
They're doing too much, and he's going to put them in a bad spot.
yep, that's exactly right. Because it takes a lot to win a championship, and it's not because of big names.
No,
And
look at the Nuggets.
yep, exactly. Yeah, you only name two really. Well, of course, Jokic is a superstar, but everybody sees Jamal as a all-star caliber player, not a superstar, really.
Look at the
So
Lakers back in the bubble. It was AD and LeBron were the two superstar all stars, and everybody else was some very good players that allowed them to win.
exactly. Right. So I just feel like sometimes they miss the marker when it comes to that because, of course, if you just hear about the latest NBA news, it's like you're missing depth. But he's like, oh, okay, well, we'll just get rid of Chris Paul and get Bradley Beal, and that's save all our problems. But no, you're still missing the. Of course, they're going to be a good regular season team. Don't get me wrong. But you got to rely on Landry Shamet now to come up for that point guard position. You know, if they decide to do it that way, they might just go ahead and just start Bradley Beal or Booker as a point guard. But I just feel like your backup is well, no, sorry, Cameron Payne. Cameron Payne is your backup point guard, or might possibly starting point guard. And he had one good game during the NBA playoffs, but besides that, he was just not there really. So I just feel like they really missed their opportunity of getting depth with Chris Paul of a team that's able to win. Because I feel like if the Lakers and the Suns would have got involved in the trade between, Chris Paul and I feel like the Lakers could have traded away D'Angelo Russell.
Nobody
Um,
wants D'Angelo. You have to do a sign and trade for D'Angelo. Nobody wants D'Angelo.
oh
That's
well,
the problem. You're not gonna get the value. You're not gonna be able to get value back that you want for D'Angelo Russell. I
but
mean, he
they
has a pretty fat contract. He's inconsistent, and there's just better options than him. So I don't see what you really could have gotten back from him unless you do a sign and trade for somebody that you want that nobody wants, which is I don't know. I don't see it.
hmm, well, that's a good point there though.
All right, moving on from that, we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving, his future in Dallas, and what is the best move for Dallas going forward. Should they bring him back? If they do, what kind of contract do you give him? What are your expectations for the Mavericks next for this upcoming season?
I I would say that the Mavericks are actually stuck in this position. I feel like they gave away so much to get Kyrie that they have to offer him the max. And I don't know if they're going to offer him the full 5 year or not, player option. But I feel like they would have to bring him back just to compensate what they lost. Um, and also I feel like it's not really Kyrie's fault that they've been so shitty. I just feel like they they don't have depth. They don't have defensive players that can lock down players. They pretty much got rid of all their players that can play defense. Um, when the Kyrie trade happened. So I just feel like they're pointing the finger at the wrong person. I think it's mainly the GM is the reason why they was out of the playoff contention whenever the trade happened. But if they could get pieces around Kyrie and Luca that could play defense and could shoot threes, I just feel like they would be a playoff team if that was to happen. But that is all on the GM to get those players around them. Because of course we know who Kyrie is. He's an offensive bucket. So we don't need more offensive buckets. We just need defensive players now. It's all a team game. You can't expect one superstar to do everything. You have to have other pieces around them that they're lacking. So once that happens, it's all on Mark Cuban to put around players that can play defense. I feel like the Mavericks is could possibly be top five depending who they get, but I could see them right now maybe being eighth.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
Before the Kyrie trade, everyone was talking about how Dallas was a top four team. And now, since they got Kyrie and everything that they gave up, nobody thinks they're even going to make the playoffs. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's how drastic of a change it is. And I think it's defense. I think Kyrie tries on defense, but I think what you gave up, Luka doesn't play defense. You're not a defensive minded team, so you need those defensive players to have that. But when it comes to what Dallas should do, I think you can't give him a full 4 or 5 year max. You can't do it. He's too unpredictable. You can't trust it. I mean, I really don't even think he wants to be in Dallas. But what I think you can do is you can't give him a 1-and-1 because he's going to say,
He's
fuck
not
that.
taking it.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
he's
yeah,
not
he's not
taking
going
it.
to take that shit. So I think you give him a 2 year guaranteed max with a player, with a team option for the third year. You give him a 2+1. I think that way you show him a little bit of dedication. By like, hey, look, Obviously, we have concerns. I'm sure you can understand why we have concerns, but we will give you max 2 years with option for the third. And that way, one, you keep him for a couple years to see how it goes with Luca. Not only that, you have the opportunity. You have
To
the
actually
opportunity
trade
to,
him also,
yeah, you increase trade value because I mean, two
less
years with a play option, a team option for the third. The team could take a risk on him if they want to, and can get off him if they feel like it's not going to work. I feel
right.
like that's probably the best that you could do for your team and to keep Kyrie there. I think that's the I don't think any team's going to offer him more than that unless they're desperate. I don't think any
Yeah,
team at this point in Kyrie's career is desperate to take on
a five
his
year
his
deal.
his baggage.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think any
Yeah.
team's that desperate right now.
hmm So at any point, do you think Kyrie's kind of grown up for what he has done? Like, not going to practice or letting his team know where he is, or even management know where he is, and just going completely dark. And we seen Kyrie being apologetic to LeBron about how he's been acting, but of course, his actions didn't reflect that when he went to the Nets. Do you think Kyrie kind of learned his lesson now? Because we really didn't hear
Hell
much
no.
from him during
Hell no.
Dallas. You don't think
Hell
so?
no.
That man's gonna do whatever he wants. He's gonna do exactly whatever he wants. That's just how Kyrie is. Now he may show up more for games. I feel like he'll probably play more games than I think he'll have fewer random missed games for just whenever he feels like it. But I don't think his personality is going to change at all. I don't think that's going to be a change.
And also, I feel like too, if they give him the contract that he wants, oh yeah, he's gonna act out again because he knows he's got that guaranteed money.
I'm
But
like,
then,
what are you going to do?
yeah, exactly. But then once his contract comes to end, he's gonna be on his best behavior for sure because he's definitely looking for another big payday.
Man, this man ain't going to be on his best behavior. He hasn't been on his best behavior since he left Cleveland.
Well, I didn't hear much from him when he played for Dallas, though. Well, for the half the season that he played with them, he's been, not in the public eye as much, you know. So I feel like too because I don't know if I think he's trying to, but sometimes you can't help yourself with some people. Sometimes the personality, definitely if you've done it so long, it's hard to get rid of that. I guess that personality of his. Um, but some people might tolerate just as long as you come to work every day and put up good numbers. And sometimes like a desperate team, like say for instance like Orlando, they don't have much going on there, and they want to pull somebody there for a big box office, and knowing we're not going to win the championship, but we just want to sell tickets.
Kyrie is not going to be. He ain't going to Orlando. Because
Yeah,
he is not going to be on his best behavior. He's going to make it hard for them, and he's going to let them know, hey, you fucked up. Like I'm not like you're not getting what you think you're going to get.
okay.
All
All
right,
right.
now let's talk about Damian Lillard. His future in Portland. They picked Scoot Henderson with the third pick in the draft, which I think was a great pick. I think Scoot's going to be a great player. Um, their their organization says they're not looking to trade him or Scoot, but they said no, there's not a 0% possibility. They're saying anything's possible, but what do you think Portland should do, and what do you think Dame should do?
Man, so this is like probably the hardest topic we have today. Because I really don't know, but if I get to give you an answer, I feel like Damian will stay with the team for a little while longer. But I feel like if he waits too long, it's gonna ruin his chances because he is getting older. You can start seeing he started having these nagging injuries. So I feel like him leaving for himself this year would be the best year to try to leave. Now I don't know if you're gonna try to get a trade requested for the best, but I feel like he doesn't need most of the package of the new team he wants to go to. Um, kind of derail the depth of the next team he might go to. So I feel like this year might be bad. Maybe his next. Actually, I don't know when is his contract up. Do you know?
I'll take a quick look real quick.
Yeah, because I don't know when his contract ends, but if it's the next 3 years, I feel like he needs to go ahead and request for a trade
He has a player
because
option in 26, 27.
yeah, okay, so 4 years actually. So yeah, I feel like he needs to go ahead and request for a trade.
He won't. He's not
Yeah,
going to. I don't think.
right,
I think Portland's going to have to force it. I think they're going to be like, "Hey, Damien, we appreciate your loyalty. You know, you stuck with us through the good and bad. We appreciate that. Um, for you, it'd be best to get traded because we want to do you right and put you in the best spot. And also, it'd be best for them because you could get a
Scoot.
lot of pieces and draft picks for Damian Lillard. And so I feel like for the long run, for both the organization and the player, parting ways is probably the best. I mean, now you got Scoot Henderson too, who's a 6'2" guard. You you have to look for the future. And granted, I understand you don't want to do it because Damian is Portland, but for his NBA success when it comes to postseason and for building blocks for the future, you got to trade him. You got to.
Right. Yeah, I just feel like it'd be best for him, Damian, to get traded. Now, when it comes to the Trailblazers, of course, you're losing your marquee franchise player that is right there underneath Steph Curry and 3 pointers, right?
Yeah, but you
So,
ain't winning shit. Like,
right.
what's the point?
Yeah, you're not winning, which is true. And I just feel like they can't get that person with Damian to win. So, yes, I feel like they are wasting Dame's time. But for the attraction, for the marketing, the ticket sales, yeah, they want to keep Dame for that reason. But if the organization wants to do Dame good, and plus, like you said, the draft picks, doing a trade and get a bunch of draft picks, it would do them good to build around Scoot. Maybe get some more 3 point shooters or a big man that can help Scoot because Scoot's not a good 3 point shooter, but
No,
he is a
I mean,
tremendous
you got
he is a tremendous player.
you got Simons too, who's a very good 3 point shooter. You can build around those two. Those would be your next CJ and Dame.
Right, exactly. Or and also hopefully you could get a big guy out of it too. Um,
Yeah,
but
get Nurkic out of there, bro.
yeah,
He ain't doing it no more.
nah, you can't rely on him, man. So yeah, I feel like yes, Dame would be a good movable piece for the Trailblazers to build a very good future. But I also think with Dame, it's best for him to leave too because his good years are starting to go behind him because of he's being derailed with injuries, and it's going to get worse. And he wants to be in the best position now to try to win.
Right. Get him out of there. Get him out. Get some picks. Start over. You wasted his time. You wasted your time. It ain't working. Just look for the future. That's what you got to do.
Yep, and might as well do it with draft picks.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we're gonna talk about the Denver Nuggets, the NBA champs. How Mike Malone's just fucking obsessed with LeBron, but more so, we're gonna we're gonna talk about what they look like for this next upcoming year and if they are going to repeat. What are your opinions on that?
Man, it's so hard to say repeat because it's very hard in this league to repeat. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no, but there are very high favorites. I say top three for sure to repeat. I mean, not to repeat, but
Win it.
to win it. So the reason why I say they will not repeat is because I feel like injuries play a big part in the NBA. Jamal Murray. I know he had previous injuries in the past, and he was healthy in the playoffs this year. I just feel like having only two All Stars, in Jokic and Jamal Murray, I just feel like it's hard for them to get to that level again to win it. And plus, teams are getting better, because everybody's improving to beat you. Like last year, they was
You're
trying to improve to beat the Warriors. The year
right.
before, they're trying to improve to beat Milwaukee. But now you're the spotlight. They're trying to win. They're trying to plot their team to beat you.
They're the
Who can
hunted
have
now. They're no
right?
longer the hunter. They're the hunted.
Yeah, exactly. So now people are looking at, okay, what player can we have to kind of bang with Yoke?
Nobody.
It's yeah,
Nobody.
right. Which is nobody, but they will try to throw bodies and try to make it difficult for him. So now their main focal point is maybe defense this year, which probably last year would have been offense, to keep up with Steph and Clay and threes. So now people focal point changes. Like the Lakers, they're probably thinking, okay, guys, we lost because of this reason, because Yoke was getting everything he want. What can we do to improve that? So I feel like teams are more, they are trying to plan on beating them instead of, you know, beating the Warriors from last year or beating Milwaukee from the year before that. Um, I feel like they do have a good chance of repeating, but to me, I feel like it's going to be very hard for them to repeat just because everybody is now looking at them as the marker to beat.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one. I think the Nuggets have one of the best chances in a long time to repeat. I think one, it doesn't matter what you try to do on defense. Like they've been trying to stop Jokic for years, even during his like there's nothing you can do to stop him. Like he's always been the focal point of teams' defensive game plans, and there's been nothing they can do about it for the past 4 years. You know what I mean? Like he there's nothing you can do about it. Jamal Murray, that's a very it's a good concern, but this team isn't built around Murray's success. It's built around Jokic. There's been games Jamal Murray didn't play well and the team still won because you got players like KCP, Bruce Brown, and God, I can't forget the other guy that comes off the bench.
Talking about Bruce. Oh, no, sorry, you already said Bruce Brown.
Uh, the white guy. What's his name?
Talking about Brown.
Yeah, the other Brown.
Yeah, the other
I
Brown.
thought it was Brown. I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't want to
It's
say two Browns and be wrong.
it's
Yeah,
it's
him.
spelled weird, but it's pronounced Brown.
Okay. Yes, him. He's a very good player off the
And he's
bench
a
too.
rookie too, so
Yeah,
that's very good.
exactly. You got young pieces. You can also, I mean, even if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't get better and plays the same next year as he did last year, you're in a good spot. And you still got Aaron going. That team is just built for repeat. Everybody is at the right age for their prime. The team has the same identity from last year. Nobody has an ego on that team.
Yes, and I was just about to say that ego is probably like the main concern, and
Right.
I mean, and that's another thing about the Bruce Brown thing we talked about. You think he has an ego,
No,
and
absolutely not. I think he knows his role. I just think he wants more money. I think he knows exactly what he does for a team, and he feels like he should be. I
compensated
don't
for that.
feel like he thinks. I don't think he believes he's better than what he is. I just think he believes that he needs to be fairly compensated for his contribution. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I don't think Philly is going to do anything. I feel like they're still going to be a top four C team, top three, top four. They're not built for a championship. I don't think Milwaukee is better. Milwaukee, to me, poses the best threat to Denver, but Milwaukee has its struggles, obviously. They have their issues as well. I mean, they just got knocked out in the first fucking round. So, I mean, it's like you don't know what you're going to get out of Milwaukee. They have the potential to be the ones to beat Denver, but they're inconsistent. Denver, right now, has proven that they're the ones that are the most poised to win again. I don't see how you can make an argument for any team being better than Denver. And so, with that reason alone, since Denver is obviously the best team in NBA, I think they're the obvious pick to win the championship again.
Okay, good point. Yeah, I just feel like it's so hard
Once
to
Mike
repeat,
Malone
but
stops being so obsessed with LeBron.
that's the thing, man. LeBron gave him. I feel like LeBron spoke up for him to give him another
He
opportunity
did.
of being a
He
coach
just all
again.
over him. He's obsessed with the media being obsessed with LeBron that he's let it infiltrate his. I think the only person who may have is Mike Malone.
Yeah, I agree. Give him a ring, and you're gonna start acting like the person you really are.
Yeah, he started acting up. He got that ring. He started acting up. But I still think they're going to be fine, though. I mean, when your best player is as unselfish and even kill as Jokic, I don't think you're going to have any worries about the locker room. I think Jokic just Jokic keeps that team the way it is with his egoless play and just how he goes out there and plays. So I think you're not gonna have any ego issues, even though y'all won and your coach is wilding out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I see that because having the best player in the NBA on your team, and also like when you think about the Nuggets, you think this is the ideal look of a team. It
Yeah,
almost reminds you of the Spurs and how they operate. To
that's
me, that's how
I
it
never thought about
feels.
that. I never thought about that. That is actually a very good comparison.
Yes, and that's kind of the vibe that I get from them. But of course, the Spurs always made it to the championship, like what 4 years straight or something like that.
or at least
But
they made it at least to the conference finals.
right, and of course, how good of a team they are there. I just feel like there will be some challenges to where maybe they're not in the best situation to get to it, even though they might be the better prospecting team. Um, I like the facts you made are very like I don't see a team being better than them right now. Is my point. But I just feel like even the best team doesn't win all the time because it could be injuries. Sometimes it could be just matchups. Like the Heat's. The Heat. The Heat isn't to me wasn't a top five. Well, no, actually, I would say top four best team in the Eastern Conference, but they won. So and it was just
Yeah, they wanted to
matches and
just
situations.
yeah, they wanted to just look wherever they got waxed in the finals. Like
Yeah,
Denver's just head and shoulders above everybody. Like injury concerns are for everybody, but you got to think about it. You only have one injury concern on your team, and he has been injured in a year, and that's Jamal Murray. You can say that for any team, but if we're just gonna play this by if everyone's healthy, who do you think has the best chance? You know,
oh
you,
yeah,
you,
yeah.
you can do ifs and buts for everything, but on
Hmm.
paper, eye test, and what has been proven,
Oh yeah, the Nuggets definitely
yeah,
by far the
you
best
got to
team.
go with Denver. If you don't say, I know you don't think Denver. Well, I know you think Denver may not repeat. Who do you think has the best opportunity besides Denver to win it all? Because mine's Milwaukee again. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
Milwaukee has the best chance out of anybody
Definitely.
else.
Yeah, that's the first team I thought about was Milwaukee would be the best because I feel like after Giannis got hurt, I think that really fucked up their season.
I agree.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. And also I don't know if I heard that Drew Holiday was talking about retiring, and also Brook Lopez might not be there.
if
Now
they don't
that's just
if they don't bring back Brook Lopez, that's goofy. I mean, he was what second or third team all defense this year.
yeah, yeah.
Him and Drew were both all defense. If
Yeah.
if you're losing one or both of them, oh, then who? Then I'd have to say Boston.
Yeah, after the Porzingis, yeah, I feel like Boston did upgrade from where they were because you just lost Marcus Smart,
Right,
and you got a very good scorer. So I feel like that's what they're missing. You keep some pressure off Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum,
right.
and I just felt like they've gotten better. So if Milwaukee doesn't come back with the same or even more pieces coming next year, then I'll definitely put Boston number one. But of course, the top three teams I was thinking about that will be title contenders is um, Denver, Milwaukee, and Boston. And if I had to pick one team from the West, man,
I'm
that's
going
very
Lakers.
hard.
I'm going
I was
Lakers.
I would just say Lakers because of how they played with the Nuggets. Like those, all four games were winnable.
Yeah, they were all
It
close,
it,
and
it could have
LeBron
went either
played
way.
with a foot injury for the whole month and a half leading up to and into the playoffs. He had his torn tendon in his foot, and still was giving you 38, 40, and playing big. And AD was very inconsistent. This is a healthy year, so I think AD is going to come back next year better offensively than he was this past year. Defensively, he's still dominant, but I think offensively he'll be more consistent next year. LeBron hopefully will be healthier, and I feel like they're not done with their moves, obviously, because they still need to decide what they're doing with D'Angelo. If they're going to bring him back or do a sign and trade and fill up some pieces around him. Austin Reeves, I think they're going to bring him and Rui back. Um,
And also Reeves.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
say also?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they're gonna bring him and Rui back. I think they're gonna bring back Dennis, and I think they're gonna try to see what they could do with Mo Bamba and Malik Beasley to get some trades in, to try to get more size to help AD. Losing Thomas Bryant kind of sucked, and like granted, Thomas didn't get what he wanted. He thought he was gonna get more playing time, but he didn't. But he did get a ring out of it. But I think having someone like Thomas Bryant as the five to let AD slide to his more natural four position. I think the Lakers should focus on that. That'll also keep AD healthy. And if you get some more playmakers and scorers, whether it be three and D guys or someone who can initiate the offense more, I think that'll preserve LeBron for the playoffs. And I think, even though the Suns won two games, I think the Lakers played the Nuggets closer to anybody else because all those games were with like you said. So I think the Lakers out the West have the best opportunity. depending, even if they brought the roster back, I still think they'd be the second best team out in the West. But I feel like they're going to make some moves to get better. And I also like what they did in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I guess that's all our topics for today. Hopefully, we can continue doing this every Saturday at 12 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So if you're tuning in, we're going to talk about different things that include sports. We're talking about anime, gaming, and just to hear from everybody else. What do y'all feel like we should talk about? Just to see,
Give us options. Give
yes,
us
give us
options. We
options.
will talk
Yes,
about anything that's in within realm of reason of being like something that's actually talkable about. The format's probably going to still be the same. It'll be better run as our first episode, so it's a little honestly most of this was on the fly the way that we've been doing it. So we plan on getting more concise and kind of layered with do it. But we're open to suggestions. What you think we should talk about? How you think we should transition between topics, how you believe or think that we should add content into it, video transitions, things of that nature. Just any feedback we appreciate. We
yep.
just want to improve the podcast and do the best that we can with it.
Yep. We're just trying to improve, guys, and hearing everybody's voices would definitely help us improve and seeing our future and how we want to do things. So please, if you got any comments or even, any type of tips, we're more open for them. So just please, just share your thoughts and what you think about how we're doing things. But Elgin, I appreciate it. El Chapo Zero username. I just want to go ahead and thank you too for putting your time in to start this channel, and be glad to work with you in the future time.
Absolutely, bro.
All right, man.
Everybody be safe, have fun, and take it easy, everybody. It's been fun.
All right, see you guys for
See
next week. See y'all.
you. Yep.